Hey, nature photographers, it is your generally friendly OM system and Photo Pro ambassador coming to you from Seattle. I just wrapped up a private workshop up here in the Puget Sound region. Phenomenal client, Hollywood guy. You would never know it. I mean, I feel like we are like long lost brothers. What I love is this whole workshop was to help him learn photography. He's only been doing wildlife photography about a year. At the beginning, within a 7-day period, using a 400 lens Nikon, and he's probably going OM system. He couldn't even get a goal in the lens. He was getting frustrated. Yesterday, he was photographing a darner in flight. Awesome. That's what I love about nature photography, watching people get better, helping them capture amazing shots. So, what am I going to talk about today? Will it give some of you a reason to gripe? Will it help some of you become better photographers? You know what? I'm going to combine two aspects today. How I got the shot, or shots in this case, along with ProCap SH1. ProCapture SH1. So I'm going to talk a combined video about how I got these shots and why I use drive mode ProCap SH1. Stay tuned, guys. Be right back.
Hello, my name is Lee Hoy, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Lee Hoy Photography. I'm an OM System Ambassador, Senior Workshop Instructor for Wildside Nature Tours. I'm a Workshop Instructor for Precision Camera and Video, and a contributing author for the Journal of Wildlife Photography.
Okay. Had an awesome workshop in the Galapagos Islands at latter part of July, a couple months back, with Wildside Nature Tours. Had a great group. And we had a really interesting situation on San Cristobal Island at Cerro Bruno Beach, one of my top 2 spots in the Galapagos Islands. A sea lion had given birth, and her and the young pup were just up the beach a little bit, big rocky kind of background, and there was afterbirth on the beach. And I noticed that frigate birds were starting to come in and bite off small to decent sized chunks of the afterbirth. I recognized that this was an opportunity to get some really cool shots, like uptight, not worrying about the whole bird. And, so frigate birds tend to soar, and then these birds were just dropping in, and then they would just drop their head, bill, grab a chunk. The afterbirth would fly up sometimes, and then they'd fly off, swallow that, and make another loop around. So what helped me capture these images? Well, I knew right away that I could probably try to do SH2 and have focus on the bird, but because of the way the sand was uneven, I might well lose focus when the bird came in close, tight. I was shooting very tight, and I could potentially lose focus at the key moment. ProCap would be ideal, but why would I pick ProCap SH1 over SH2? Again, ProCap SH2, it will refocus, it will remeter. So for live highlight alerts in between each shot, it can show that. Although, frankly, ProCap is so fast, you're not going to notice live highlight alerts show up if an exposure changes a little bit. So ProCap SH1 does up to 120 frames per second. But once you take the first shot, the view through the viewfinder is locked at the first image. It will not refocus, right? But it's going to capture a lot of images. So what I decided to do, and we're going to hop in a Lightroom here in a minute, I decided to pre-focus on the afterbirth. Now, yeah, I could have used autofocus to grab it, but the afterbirth would get hit by the birds and then move a little bit. So sometimes it was fairly visible, and I wanted a very low angle. I didn't want to shoot down. I wanted to shoot at eyesight. I wanted to put you right in the action, which meant autofocus would be more challenged with sand, because the bird's a dark background, and the birds are coming in very quickly and then they're gone. So what I did is I was using the 150 to 400. I focus peaked. So that is where in manual focus I adjusted until the red was right where I wanted it. So let's hop in here to Lightroom, and you can see, let's talk about my exposure settings real quick, because I know a lot of you have questions about that. You can see I'm using the 150 to 400 in the upper left here of the image. By the way, in Lightroom, if you press I, it cycles through different information, and in Lightroom preferences, you can adjust what is shown. You can see I was using a Mark II with the 150 to 400. My setting was 1/2500th of a second, okay? f5.6 at ISO 8000. Very low light. It was an overcast day. And, for some of these shots, I'm roughly around 350 millimeters, okay, on the lens. Well, the birds, so you want to consider wind direction. At first, we noticed these birds when we were on the back side of the birds, and my client started to raise their lenses. I said, no, we need to go to the other side to have the birds coming at us, right? We don't want butt shots, we want head shots. So they're having to take advantage of the wind, come in, dip down, and grab it. And I wanted a low angle. I did not want to be shooting down. So I got to where I could just barely see some of the afterbirth. Now let's hop in here to Lightroom, okay? And I'm going to start at the beginning of a sequence. Now in this particular image, let me hide the end tab so you can see it, okay? You will notice that the afterbirth is tack sharp, but the bird is blurry. So again, I set my focal point at the afterbirth, and I chose to allow the bird to come into focus and then go out without me making any adjustments. I was shooting tight, which would make it more challenging. A dark background with dark birds, it would be easier to lose focus. I did not want to do that. So because I do back button focus, if you're a front button focus person here, you're screwed. Just so many disadvantages to front button focus. I never understand using front button focus. There's not a single advantage to it. And some of you probably argue with me in the comments. Well, you can be wrong. But there's not a single advantage other than, well, that's the way I've always done it, which works great for accountants and perhaps librarians. But it's not so good for nature photography. So you'll notice the bird is not sharp. But watch as I cycle through these images, okay? Now you'll notice the tip of the bill has become sharp. The bird is now entering the focal plane. But the point of action, and that would have been a cool shot had I left focus on the bird. But what if I'd have lost it because of the dark background? Now you'll notice now the eyes of the bird are starting to come in more focus. Look at that. As it advances, now we have much more of the bird in focus. Really from here, I mean, I probably wouldn't post this one. The eyes may not be sharp enough. I would look at that more in depth. But look at this. Look at that shot. I have a sequence of amazing shots. I mean, you can see the throat pouch on this male frigate bird. You can see the neck feathers, the back feathers. You can see some of the primaries and secondaries. The tail feathers are spread out beautifully. Check this out as this bird comes in. Now we see the bill begin to open. Look at this. Coming right at me. Now it grabs the afterbirth. The head bends back. I love the way the tail is around this. Now look at this. I mean, the moment of impact. But notice now the bird is out of focus, right? So I'm choosing to go for a sequence of shots that I now can pick which one I like the most. Probably somewhere in here is what I would like the most. That one's pretty cool. But by using SH1, I gave myself a ton of choices. If you're using SH2, you're at 50 frames per second. SH1 is up to 120. I'm giving myself more than double the images to choose from. So even at SH1 at 120 frames per second, I only have, so maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't really care for that much. He's starting to go out of focus. Maybe 11 to 12 shots or so, somewhere in that range. So I have a lot of shots to choose from. Now, these birds did this over and over. So you can see how the afterbirth explodes. Of course, the bird's completely out of the frame. Here's another example, okay? Bird's out of focus. And here we go. Look at this. Bam. Now, that's a cool shot. Look at this. Coming right at me. Boom. I mean, now, again, bird's in focus. And you can see this sequence of shots coming through, right? This is the power of SH1. Now, the focal plane might change from pass to pass because as the birds hit the afterbirth would move some. So between birds, I just use my manual focus ring on the 150 to 400. I take focus peaking past the afterbirth and bring it back to it. I want the range, I want to see my depth of field where I want the bird's head as it comes right to it, not really afterwards. That would be an okay shot too, like this, but you see the bill and the back of the head are kind of out of focus. The tail's in focus. I mean, it'd still be a cool shot, but I think for me, probably somewhere back in, here, that's a cool shot. The tail feather, look at that. The eye contact's a little better, right? This is when SH1 is your go-to situation. When you know your focal plane isn't going to change much, conditions could be more challenging for SH2. Like here, if focus is jumping back and forth from bird to background to here, you're not going to come away with many shots. To be honest, I have hundreds of shots because I used this technique. Whoops. And these are just 2 passes. I have tons more. I just chose a couple of the sequences to show you. So when the focal plane or the action is going to occur in a predictable area, when you want a lot of shots to choose from, when you don't want to risk focus moving and jumping or falling on the background, why would I not use the digital autofocus limiter here and just pick a range? Because even within that range, it could jump. I don't want to try to estimate how far the afterbirth is from me after the birds hit it and move it. Now, occasionally I might need to move just a slight bit left or right if the afterbirth got out of view. But as long as I could see part of it, I could put focus peaking right on the afterbirth. So ProCap SH1 has its place. I also used it on the iguanas this year, expelling the excess salt, the marine iguanas. I know now, SH1 ProCap, SH2 ProCap, they both have their places. But when I'm not worried about focal plane changing much, this is going to give you some really powerful images. Now, I know what some of you are going to say. Oh, I don't want to look through that many images. Probably one of the silliest statements I hear when it comes to nature photography. And if you don't want to, don't. But then don't ask me later, well, how do you get this shot? Why didn't you? I don't know. I use Photo Mechanic Plus to cull. I can cull 10,000 images in under 15 minutes, no problem. So you make the choice on how many images you want to take. And then when you look at other people and go, well, God, how'd you get that? They're probably using something that you didn't because you don't want to look through enough images, right? Here I have a beautiful variety of images to choose from. Incredible sequences with this frigate bird. So pay attention to nature. One of my sayings, take what nature gives you. So this is how I got the shot combined with drive mode SH1 ProCapture. Powerful feature. This video is not about how to use ProCapture, but I really want you to know it has its place in nature photography. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I still have a little bit of space on my OM1 Part 1 and Part 3 mentorship program. Part 1 deals with the technical side of photography with OM cameras, the OM1 and the OM1 Mark II. We will help you master those 2 camera bodies. Part 3 is about mastering your post-processing. Because if you master your system or you master your post-processing, you're going to master your photography. Hey, you guys have a great day. Go out and capture some visually compelling images. We'll talk to you next time.